So I'm recording. Why don't we go around the table and start off with what we remember from last time, starting with Sergeant Gray.
You've caught me off guard.
That's something that a DM lives for.
We talked with a douchebag. We killed a wooden bird. That's all I got right now.
We failed to
Okay.
heal the bird.
Oh, right. That happened.
Forgot about that too.
And Drez told me off when I tried to pay him.
It's true.
I was really embarrassed we couldn't heal the bird.
It was only, you know what, we only failed 30 or 40 dice rolls.
You know, the thing is, like,
With a
if
low-
I hadn't
with a
blown
low
my
D7.
healing spell, like, trying to heal the bird before we had the stuff out, I could have used the healing spell to heal the bird, but I messed up.
Okay. Drez,
So I'm
do you
showing 41
remember
hit points. I'm not sure why. Shouldn't I
41?
be? Shouldn't I be?
You should
8
still have
plus 1 is
your
36.
You should still have your extra hit points for the day, whatever those
Ah,
are.
my
7.
5 from 8. There we go. Got it.
Yep.
So 41. That does add up. Never mind.
And you guys didn't do a short rest. I know you did do some short resting, didn't you? Right after that encounter.
I did, because I was one of them had hit me pretty hard.
Okay. Perfect. Does anybody else remember anything else about the last session? I believe you had you started right after the zombie, right? Or did you do the zombie and Strahd in that last session?
Zombie, Strahd, and Wooden Bird.
Okay, that was an extra long session. Okay.
Mhm.
Wonderful. Okay. So we left off at halfway between the River Ivlis Crossroad with the wounded, barbed raven. Who is carrying the raven?
Pretty sure I am.
I think so.
Okay.
Because
Alright.
one's not enough for her.
Oh man, all the ravens. Give me all the ravens. I'm gonna have a raven army before we're through here.
Is there anything you guys wanted to do before you moved from your position right post combat? Kind of let me know what your plans, what your thinking is, but let me know when you're going to pick things up and start heading west again. The sky is still relatively bright. It is, of course, in Barovia, heavily overcast. But you still you see like the first signs of the retiring day. The day is beginning to dim slightly.
Did we search the Strix corpse?
You did not.
Yeah, let's search the corpses of the dead.
Yeah.
Okay. There were 2 swarms and 1 greater Strix. On the Strix, you find about 20 small silver barbs amongst a pile of burlap, rotted wood, and what looks to be raven feathers.
If nobody takes them.
I was gonna say,
take
if you guys are good with me taking some of it, I could maybe have them turned into powdered silver. That spell that was so useful last
Yep.
time, the protection for good and
Mhm.
evil, powdered silver and iron is one of the things it takes.
Perfect. You take them then.
So
I
sorry.
I would just need enough to melt down to cover the head of my hammer.
There's silver barbs not only on the corpse of the Strix, but of course there's dozens of barbs in the wounded raven as well. So there's two sources
Yeah,
of
we know.
silver. Still have yet not been removed.
Yeah, we know. Rub it in.
We tried really hard. So how many silver barbs would you say there are total?
I'm gonna say there is. Leave that with me. There should be enough to. How much is it? 10 pounds? Not 10 pounds. That would be ridiculous. How much do you need for your spell?
It doesn't say. It just says powdered silver and iron, which the spell consumes.
And does it give you a GP limit on that?
No, it doesn't.
Well, then you don't really need it to cast it, right? If there's no GP limit, if there's no GP thing, then I'm not holding you to a material.
Okay. I mean, I was just gonna take it for flavor since it's in the spell, but if I don't need it at all, then I'm good with not taking it.
There's enough silver between the bird and the Strix for there to be left over after you're done Mesker, after you find somebody that could plate your maul.
Oh no, I'm just gonna put it over the fire and wait for 6 months. We're gonna stay right here.
As
You're gonna
you
melt the silver over the fire?
as you learn how to silver plate,
Yeah, I'm just working that out.
it's gonna wing it.
I'm workshopping it.
Just break through the fourth wall and get my artificer in our other game to do it for you.
Get Gwen.
She could do
You
it.
could probably put it with the iron branch and make like a nice little piece of jewelry.
Oh, exactly. That'd be great. Anyways,
Yeah, so how much is left after Meskers?
Well,
I mean, we
we'll
can just
probably need to discuss that after you can take a full inventory after treating the bird.
Okay.
Just
see me
pouring
get
salt
I'm
everybody.
there.
just gonna put silver barbs from the birds in my inventory list.
Cool.
And we can sort it out later.
Okay, now I do need a damn AFK. As soon as we get started, that's when these wonderful dogs of mine decide they need to go out. I apologize. I'll be right back.
The wolf doesn't like that.
What is he doing? Oh, he made up his bed. That's cute.
He's looking for another snow globe.
Mash!
Yeah, Santa's not bringing another one. Well, while he's doing that, I'm just gonna top up my coffee. I'm gonna stay on comms though.
sounds kind of ominous. Do, 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 do. You guys are also very quiet.
I mean, I muted myself because I was snacking. So.
Oh,
You know.
okay.
It's your excuse, Dave.
Watching a video.
Fair.
What's the program that I Dennis having a really good time reading.
Good.
I'm back. I am so sorry.
It's all right.
Uh,
Welcome back.
Yeah, it won't happen again because I actually spent the time to take them to the pound and give them up for adoption. So,
Oh, good.
so that
Okay,
took
then.
care of that problem.
That's funny because I
That's
know
good.
it's not true.
It is not true, but
I mean, we don't know that for sure. What if he lives right next to the
I mean,
pound?
I suspect the pound probably isn't open at 7:40 in the evening.
What if it's a 24-hour pound?
unfortunately, it's not.
What if he called animal control and they picked him up?
Hold on.
So many options.
I don't think they respond that quickly.
Hey Siri, call animal control. I'm sorry. I should have
Okay,
muted that.
Dave.
So what did I miss? Where are we? What are we doing? Are we moving?
They just
We all
killed
took a
you,
break.
and they're now looting your corpse.
They're now what?
Looting your corpse. They just killed you.
Oh, I've got a really nice rapier. If anybody wants it.
I think you guys are just basically it's on you. Ball's in your court. You're on the road. You finished looting up the silver barbs from the Strix corpse. And Elanil, you have the wounded raven.
Yes.
Let's get the hell away from this crossroad.
Okay. The road gradually disappears. Whoa. The road gradually disappears and is replaced by a twisted, muddy path through the trees. Deep ruts in the earth are evidence of the comings and goings of wagons. The canopy of mist and branches suddenly gives way to black clouds boiling far above. There is a clearing here, next to a river that widens to form a small lake several hundred feet across. 5 colorful round tents, each 10 feet in diameter, are pitched outside a ring of 4 barrel-topped wagons. A much larger tent stands near the shore of the lake, its sagging form lit from within. Near this tent, 8 unbridled horses drink from the water. The mournful strains of an accordion clash with the singing of several brightly clad figures around a bonfire. A footpath continues beyond this encampment, meandering north between the river and the forest's edge.
Was at the end of sentence.
That was the end of sentence.
Okay.
So as we're approaching the camp, Drezek looks at the party and says, "So I need to tell you more about what was in that note. Apparently this Strahd fellow thinks he knows me. I can assure you I've never met him, and that he certainly doesn't know me. He may have me confused with somebody else." And with that, Drezek gives Mesker a very exaggerated wink. It wouldn't be the first time that's happened, but he, thinking he knows me, he's made some threats that fortunately don't involve any of you. But I think this may be something we can leverage in the future.
So
Thinks he knows you how.
I don't know. He just mentioned that he is glad that we finally met, and that he has some ideas for me. And again, that there is no way he would know who I am or even know of me. I'm certainly not that notorious that a vampire in this cursed land would have ever heard of me.
Can I make an insight check? Just to see, like, is Drez telling the truth? Like, does he honestly believe that Strahd doesn't?
I am going to not allow insight checks against players.
Okay.
I think that it's going to inhibit role playing, and I'd like you guys to try to just role play. And you guys have been doing a great job up to this point, and I'd like to just see how you guys do that and manage that.
In this case, Crane, if players can have input in it, I'd certainly would not be against it.
Touch the dog.
I'm fine
There we
with
go.
whatever. I don't mind not rolling insights and stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna think. I've had some time to think about that, and when you have a rogue in the party and there could be some interplay occurring between more lawful and unlawful characters, I think putting it to a dice roll makes can create more negative outcomes than positive outcomes. So I think I'm going to just say the opposing ability scores against players I want to try to avoid. I do appreciate that, Drez, but I think as the DM, I'm gonna say that for our campaign here, we'll not proceed in that direction.
Okay.
Cora won't say anything then.
Mesker will chuckle and say, "Guess you get to keep playing make-believe."
Drezek just shrugs and says, "I'm being as honest as I can. If you have any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them. But you now know for everything that I know.
We should get you a cat.
A cat.
Why does he need a cat?
By a
Why
cat,
does
do you
the
maybe
elf need a
mean a panther?
I put an owlbear rodeo invitation, by the way, in the Discord.
Okay.
Diving out to this music.
I'm scrolling through my notes to figure out who we're supposed to go see.
Is someone in there?
Madam,
Is that Monk?
somebody?
Someone is in the owlbear as cat.
Did you make Monk a roll?
Oh, it called me cat. That's odd.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense. Had some questions about that one.
Last night, after we all got offline, Drez did some role-playing on Owlbear Radio.
That's right. I remembered his last session name.
There. Better?
Better. Much better. Yeah, so you guys, it's getting darker, and you can see the glow of what looks to be a campfire in the distance. Those wagons, those barrel-topped wagons, are as described. You can see figures sort of in the distance. You can hear the murmuring of voices. There seems to be a warmth and a welcoming nature to this encampment from what you've experienced over the past several days. You seem drawn to the atmosphere that seems to be playing out in front of you.
Oh, we've got still have Irina with us, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, so I look over to her and ask her, so is this where we find Madame Eva?
Yes, this is the Seer pool. She's set to camp here. Has been here for some time, I think. She would go on to explain that this is sort of like a semi-permanent encampment that the Vistani use.
Does she know them?
Irina?
Yeah.
She knows of them, but she doesn't have any personal relationships with them.
Oh, okay.
She would share that information.
Okay. I, for the life of me, cannot remember what we were supposed to do with Madame Eva.
Go
To
talk
go
to
to
her.
her to get her to tell our future. Like she's supposed to predict stuff about us.
Oh, okay.
So I bet the biggest tent is hers. Let's go find her tent.
So Mesker, as you approach around here, very quickly you notice that there seems to be a male walking out from the camp, kind of in this direction here, and he actually comes upon your group there, and he looks at you with looks to be like a bright smile and a bit of a wink, and he says with a fair bit of warmth, "Ah, she was right again. You are expected." And he looks over his shoulder and gestures to the tent in the far distance. "Please, you are most welcome here at the Tser pool. Madame Eva is waiting for you. we have food, we have drink. You are welcome to stay the night, but before you get into that, she is waiting for you. It seems as though your arrival has been anticipated.
I'm going to ask him as we go by if there was a healer that could attend as well.
Are one of you injured? And he looks kind of from face to face, looking for injuries.
I just kind of hold my arms out a bit and unwrap the bundle a little bit so he can see the unconscious crow in my arms.
A raven. It's a raven.
Crow, raven,
Yeah.
corvid.
Oh, dearie. Just a moment here. Helga! And then there's an older woman by the campfire up here, and she's sitting there, and as he shouts to her and draws your attention to her, you can see her sitting in front of the fire, and she's actually knitting. She's got a little wicker basket of what looks to be wool, and she's got some knitting needles, and she stands up, and her hands are just like bony and swollen, and like she just looks like she's just always is working with her hands, and she kind of walks over to the other male there. What is it, Stanmir? And Stanmir now turns to Helga. It is the bird. It looks to be what happened to it? Now maybe seeing for the first time its injuries.
I have an important question. What was she knitting?
You'll have to see when you get closer to the fire what she was knitting. She put her knitting down as she came over.
We're not 100% sure what happened to the bird. There was another bird. It was wood, and burlap was trying to kill this one.
And at this, Stanmir and Helga kind of exchange looks. Give the bird to me, says the older woman, her hands sort of outstretched.
I'm reluctant, but I will give her the bird.
And she takes the bird very carefully, almost like receiving an infant. You're almost reassured at the amount of care and the attention that she's paying towards this bird. And she wanders back over to the fire, and you can see her kind of draping the bird on her knees, like she's wearing a dress, like a colorful kind of dress, and she's draping this bird on her knees, and one hand is bracing behind the bird's neck, and she's sort of counting the barbs, and she's just very carefully inspecting this bird with what appears to be a very gentle, sort of practiced hand. And Stanmir is wandering over here as well, and he's gesturing to you. Come, please come. Helga knows what she's doing. You must go to Madame Eva. She is waiting for you.
Ma'am.
I'm
save
gonna
this
leave.
number.
I'm gonna leave my rat with the bird just to kind
Sure.
of keep an eye on it.
Sure. And sorry, Mesker, what were you saying?
I told her to save this over.
She kind of grunts at you when you say that, in a yeah, I got you, but I'm a little busy right now.
Roll for initiative.
Young sir, your horse. Would you like me to tend to it? We have others here. I can see that it is fed and watered.
Drezek snickers and says, "Good luck with that."
I don't really know that she's gonna follow you.
And the male approaches and almost looks to you for permission to approach the horse.
Nods.
Okay, and he, with a kind of a weathered older hand, he gently places his hand along the horse's mane and starts to brush
Roll
it.
for initiative.
And he whispers sort of quietly to the horse, and Marigold immediately begins to calm and lower her neck and lean into the petting. All of us, Stani, are good with horses, mister. She is safe here.
You can wander her wherever you want. I'm just saying might not stay.
We will look to her. We will look to her. And he kind of reassures you, nodding his head, again gesturing towards the tent.
I'm sorry, which it's this tent, right?
Yeah. What's going on with your bird, love?
What do you mean?
Are you bringing it with you? Okay.
Yes. Iris left her
Temple.
rat with the other bird, so I'm bringing Wrath with me.
Okay. Drez, are you coming?
Nope, I'm hanging up by the fire.
Okay. I need to switch. Here, I need to think about this.
So I can see and hear through my rat, and like mentally communicate. I would not necessarily be watching, but I would just be keeping an eye for anything unusual
So,
going on.
so I'll just break in real quick. I will address that for a second. Drez, if you're going to hang out here, that's fine, but there's going to be a plot development occurring in here with some sharing of information. If you want to participate with that, you can. But if you don't come in, you're going to miss all of that, and I may even ask you to leave the channel so that you're not.
Hope I'm coming in.
Okay. And then with the familiar.
I was just about to say, if it's better for you, I'll come in.
Well, it's not about me. It's about I want to make sure that I'm giving you that enough of that so that you can make an informed decision. And
Part of our contract. I'm in.
And Cora, in order to do that, you need to actually concentrate on channeling through your familiar. So you can't be in two places at once. So you can do that absolutely, but just as a heads up, when you want to do that, you have to let me know when you're doing it so that I can then provide you feedback.
Can I just have the familiar like let me know if anything's happening? Like I'm not actively watching or anything.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, if you give your familiar like um, instructions, I think, as to like what it is that you want to be alerted to.
Yeah, just if anything unusual is going on in the general vicinity, or if anything negative is happening to the bird.
Okay. So as it pertains to the bird itself.
Well, so just anything that is unusual in the general vicinity, or anything negative specifically to the bird. Those would be the two things.
Okay. The only thing unusual happening right now is this shaggy-looking black Labrador dog is going over to your rat right now, and is kind of licking it and nudging it with his wet nose.
Like it wants to play, or like it wants to eat it.
Play.
The rat will bop the dog on the nose and maybe like play with it a little bit.
Perfect. They're now having a good time together by the fire.
Does the dog have a name?
The dog wouldn't be able to communicate that name.
That's fair. I was gonna put rat made friends with dog in my notes.
You guys need Radagast here. Maybe he'll tell you.
Yep.
All right. Let me get set up here. Stand by one.
How do we know Marigold didn't have a Madame Eva dream?
That's fair. That's fair. So, Stanimir is standing off to the side outside, and he's got his hand on Marigold's neck, and he reaches forward and pulls one of the flaps of the tent aside, and it showers the outside now with this warm radiance from within. This looks like a very welcoming, very brightly lit, brightly furnished interior. And as you walk in, you are struck with a sense of familiarity. This is you've been here before. And you would recall that this is something that you've dreamed about, your shared dreamscape that you had back in Barovia. This is a familiar place. And then the woman that is standing sort of next to a chair inside this tent also appears familiar to you. She's about 5'6", 5'7". She seems like a smaller, slight woman, but there's this sense of gravity about her. As soon as you walk into the room, you get the impression that you're standing in the presence of someone with ability, with a sense of you almost feel like naked in front of her, if that makes sense. It's a sense of vulnerability. Um, she doesn't have a smile at first as she watches you sort of walk in. The room is covered in silks and blankets, and there's pillows in the corner, and there's some furniture kind of staggered about. It has the impression of being a semi-permanent encampment, a tent. This is not something that's meant to be struck really quickly at night. It has a sense of permanence to it. And there is a round table, kind of where this woman is standing, with chairs surrounding it in a circle. And the table has a red tablecloth over it and a colorful mat placed on top. And there's some candles around. There's a crystal off to the side. There's some gold coins kind of in the corner. There's a book with a sprig of what looks to be some kind of herb on top of it. And then there is a deck of cards off to one side at this table. And as you enter, she looks at you and she offers you a very sort of private smile, as if greeting an old friend after it's been many, many months. Welcome to my tent, she says very softly. And yet, even though the volume of it is soft, it sort of resonates in sort of the quiet, silent nature of this place. And she looks to Cora, the lion-hearted one. I know you from my dreams. Small in stature, brave. You brought kindness to the children of the old Durst Manor, and for that you will be remembered. And she kind of locks eyes with you for a moment, Cora, before she turns to Mesker. And the sergeant, you are newer than the others, but you are welcome here. And her eyes kind of almost pause as she almost takes a reading of you, Mesker. You are like me. Perhaps you have seen too much, like myself.
Just gonna blink at that.
She smiles. Demons, perhaps you have wrestled with. Fear not, the battle is not over yet. And then she turns to Elanil. You hunt ghosts still, do you not? Welcome, graceful one. Your talents will be useful in this place.
I'll just nod my head somewhat regally.
And then her eyes settle on Threads. Ah, the Dark One. Pretender, you have been. You've worn other names. But here you can be yourself. Of that, I am certain. And her eyes kind of flicker down for a moment before she slowly takes her seat. And with a hand sort of gestures for you all to also take a seat.
I sit.
We're all
Same.
set.
Yep.
Just one moment here. So as you walk in, can you describe for me, Elanil, what Vinrath is doing?
He's kind of shuffling nervously on my shoulder a little bit as I move to sit down, but he's staring very intently between Madame Ava and Drez.
Madame Ava, as she sits down and adjusts her skirts, kind of looks up at Vinrath, and this broad smile sort of creases her face. And she asks, "What is this lovely, beautiful creature?"
Someone brought very unexpectedly from the other realm as we were. Their name is Finrath.
Vinrath. And she kind of looks down off to the side for a minute, thinking. That is of the Dale, is it not?
It is.
And her eyes flick over to Mesker before looking back at the raven. I once had a raven myself in my service. Turtle, they were called. I have only seen one such like this only once in the past 10 years, however. Doubtless, Turtle has gone wild without me, and she seems to be almost reminiscing at this point.
Did Furlough have blue feathers?
She pauses for a moment, consideringly. No, but perhaps that is something we should talk about. But she then reaches over and places her hands on the deck of cards. But you have come here for a reason, at my urging, at my invitation. Do you remember the words that I said, and the great burden that lies before you?
I heave a big sigh and said, "You remember, and it seems that the subject of our discussion also remembered because we ran into him on the path."
He came from this place, of that I can say. All who beseech their fortune are welcome to it, regardless of who they are. But I can now give you such a boon, and I can read your fortune, and I trust that this is something that you will be interested in.
Some of us may choose not to, but I'm sure there are a few among us who will.
I will read the cards then, and we shall see what they say. For you find yourselves in a land under the control of a man most foul, and perhaps there is something you can do about it. And as she reaches for these deck of cards, she pauses, and almost like a shock kind of goes through her, and her voice gets low as she hisses, her silhouette dancing in the flickering candlelight. A shadow is approaching my tent. A lone servant of darkness. They seek knowledge of your future. Secrets that I am sworn never to reveal to any but their keepers. Do not look, child, nor rush to greet them on your exit. If they learn the import of what we have discussed, all may be lost. Do not reveal, even, that you know of their true nature, for their master will know that I have told you, and his wrath will descend upon us all. I will read the cards as swiftly as I dare before they arrive, and you will listen closely, for I shall never again repeat what they say. Are you ready?
We are.
Okay.
Yep.
This is a good time to start taking notes.
Thanks, Teach. This will be on the test.
Mm-hmm. Her old hands, working deftly, the ancient Seer removes 14 cards from the top of the deck, setting them aside. The remaining cards she shuffles nimbly, twice, 3 times, 4. Madame Ava sets both decks upon the surface of the velvet table. Closing her eyes, she places her right hand over the surface of the larger deck. The crimson flames dim and swirl in eldritch patterns as her lips move silently, a distant tension spreading through the air. The sounds of the rustling trees and rippling pool beyond the tent's walls begin to dim. The external world growing mute and insubstantial as the space within grows more solid, more real. Slowly, reverently, the crone draws 3 cards from the top of the deck, laying them face down separately on the table. With the second laid between and above its partners. She then moves to the smaller deck, drawing 2 more cards. The first she places below the first 3, forming a cross. The second she places in the center. The lights of the candles sway like silhouettes, leaning in toward the cards like anxious watchers. Yet the air in the tent is perfectly still. No light intrudes through the seams in the tent's walls. No voice rings out in the silence. Shadows and mist swirl at the boundaries of the tent where the darkness of deepest night dwells. But here, at its center, light yet reigns. The crone then moves her wrinkled hand to the leftmost card, the first. She closes her eyes and tilts her head, as if listening to an unspoken word. The arcane lights swirl and then shift, their colors changing to a deep, piercing blue. This card tells of history. Knowledge of the ancient will help you better understand your enemy. She then flips the card. The cerulean light dances across its surface, revealing an illustration of a smirking guardsman looking up at a haughty priest. The priest's pointing fingers mere inches from the guardsman's nose as the guardsman readies a wickedly curved dagger behind his back. The 9 of glyphs, the traitor. Her dark pupils shift from side to side, as though reading from an unseen text. I see the ancient foe of an old and noble house. The wandering soul will lead you to him. She moves her hand to the second card, this one at the top of the cross. As she closes her eyes and listens once more, the candlelight flares, its color bursting into a fierce, cheery yellow. This card tells of a powerful force for good and protection, a holy symbol of great hope. She flips the card. This time, the light reveals a new illustration. An armored warrior clutching a cracked iron sword and a leather-bound wooden shield, his face obscured by a heavy iron helmet. The Five of Swords, the Myrmidon. Her eyes stare deep into the shadows that lurk in the corners of the tent. She moves her hand to the third card, at the right arm of the cross, her eyelids closing like a trance, her lips pursed in quiet contemplation. The candlelight vanishes for a heartbeat, and then returns in a nova of fierce, burning white, so pure and strong and clean that it hurts to look at, burns to see. Madame Ava's eyes snap open, burning with a fierce determination. This card is a card of power and strength. It tells of a weapon of vengeance, a sword of sunlight. She flips the card. The light reveals a third illustration. A solemn-faced man clad in holy vestments, one hand clutching the chain of a bronze censer that billows with burning smoke. The Eight of Glyphs, the Bishop. The crown's voice is strong with purpose. She moves to the fourth card, at the bottom of the cross, and listens once more, tracing small circles across its back as she hums a contemplative note. The magic flames leap and dance upon their wicks, now casting swirling violet embers into the air as the walls of the tent gleam with the shimmer of twilight. This card sheds light on one who will help you greatly in the battle against darkness. She flips the card. This time, the illustration revealed is a quiet graveyard choked with fog, its entrance sealed with a sharp iron fence. The mists. Madame Ava leans forward. Finally, she moves her hand to the fifth card and nearly recoils, her brow furrowing until the wrinkles split her forehead like a trench. Behind her, shadows encircle the candlelight until the light is very nearly swallowed by the creeping dark. And when next she speaks, Madame Ava's rasping voice is scarce above a whisper. Your enemy is a creature of darkness, whose powers are beyond mortality. When the hour of judgment arrives, this card will lead you to him. Her hand trembles above the card for a silent moment, and then deft, ancient fingers reveal its opposite side. In the darkness, the fifth and final illustration is only barely visible through the smoke and unnatural murk. Upon the card's surface dwells a depiction of a crowned, grinning emperor clad in royal finery and reaching for a goblet of wine. Though his limbs are wooden puppet's limbs lashed to corded strings that disappear into the darkness overhead. Madame Ava slowly exhales. The marionette. As the last syllable passes her lips, the old woman freezes and then rocks back in her chair, her eyes rolling until their whites gleam like pearls in the darkness, and then she snaps back, the candlelight burning down to its ordinary crimson glow. The sound of the outside world returns. The voices of the Vistani, the crackling of the bonfire, the whisper of the wind. and the lapping of the waves against the shore of the pool. Light, gray, and insubstantial, filters in once more through the canvas walls of the tent, and you feel yourselves breathe for the first time since the reading began. Beyond the tent's walls, you think you can hear the sounds of footsteps approaching. Madame Eva says nothing. She only regards you silently, with dark, heavy eyes.
Would you, do you want some water? Something?
Holy shit, dude.
No, no water?
Artie kind of sits there, collectively stunned.
Literally, I mean, in real life too.
Do you guys want to take a couple-minute break?
Yeah, that was pretty impressive, man.
Thank you.
Did you write that?
I did not write that one. No. That was part of the movie.
How did
That
you
was well played.
how'd you do that on owlbear? Like, did you just have like the flipping of the cards? Like, how do you actually do that? That's impressive.
I just stumbled into it today. I found a bunch of the actual like high-res PNG for the Terraca cards, and I imported them into Owlbear as an asset. They're props, and then I found the card bit backs, and I just put a bunch down and made a deck, like a virtual deck, and then just pulled them on there. And then when the time came to flip them, I just replaced their images with the corresponding images that I
Son of a
also.
bitch.
Yeah.
That's
I didn't
real-
even see it. I had my notes on top of it.
Oh, you're gonna have to watch it later because
It was
it was
good. I was
yeah.
impressed.
Damn.
I was
mean,
sitting there like, how did he move? Like, I figured that was how you're moving the backs, but like the replacing the images, I wouldn't have thought of that. That was really cool.
It worked out good.
Wow, that was good.
I was like, is there a feature that I'm missing that I don't know about in Owlbear?
Yeah, I always thought like, okay, it's it's for mapping software. I'm gonna move her face down here so that my media can see it. But it can also do other things too.
It was
I
awesome.
didn't
Good
want to
job.
interrupt, but at part of it, I was like, you didn't tell us what number some of the cards were because you guys are looking at them.
Some of
So I
us
just
take good notes, Raz. It's
I
okay.
do want to
I did take
clarify
good
something.
notes. That's all I
The
did.
the 9 and 8. Did you say that was a glyph? Is that what the suit was?
uh,
Yes. 9 is
yes.
glyph, 8's
I've got
glyph.
9 of glyphs, 5 of swords, 8 of glyphs, the graveyard, and the crowned emperor.
I thought it was
Marionette.
glyphs, but then I thought maybe I heard that wrong. So I just wanted to confirm that that's what it was.
Wow, that was really well done.
Thanks.
It's one of those like, okay, now what? She doesn't really look like she wants to talk to us anymore.
Well, hopefully she's going to explain what the hell all this means.
I think that was our explanation.
So if you were to ask that question to her,
Yeah.
so she would reply with, "The threads of the faith cannot be beckoned like a servant or conjured like a magician's trick. I see only what the cards show me, and no more."
But does she want some water?
She gratefully accepts your offer of water.
Water.
So, based on these cards, do you have any more concrete recommendations for us?
She looks like physically exhausted from performing this reading, and she sort of offers you a gentle smile. And she says, I cannot tell you any more than what the cards have already conveyed. It is up to you to find their true meaning.
Cora will nod at her.
You are welcome to stay the night here at Tser. It is a safe place, and it is dangerous to roam Borovia at night. We have warm fires, wet wine, and good company. And my associate Stanimir can ensure you that all will be taken care of. And I will see you in the morning before you depart.
I'll stand up with Wrath on my shoulder and bow low in her direction and uh, thank her for her wisdom and reading and leave the tent.
She would incline her head in a deep manner to echo sort of the bow that you offer her.
So it gives her a nod of thanks and walks out.
Cora says thank you for your hospitality and the information, and also leaves.
Mesker just inclines his head and leaves.
Would she have been willing to answer a couple more questions, not directly related to the cards, or is she kind of like, I'm done, get out of my face?
You get the impression that that was the conclusion of the meeting.
Okay.
You may not know a lot about the arcane or about supernatural abilities. I don't know what Drez knows, but you get the impression that
Little.
she has exhausted herself by performing this reading. Okay, one moment here. So as you guys leave the tent, if you all want to be kind of over here. Yeah, sorry about that. As you leave the tent, Stanmir is going to be right there. Marigold is hanging over here. And there's another woman standing next to Stanmir. You didn't notice her from before. She is a cheerful, excitable-looking woman in her 30s. She's standing next to Stanmir. And she gives you a warm smile as you exit the tent. Welcome to Tser, she says very, very cheerfully. And then looking over at Stanimir as Stanimir kind of walks over from where Marigold was, and she clicks her tongue and kind of scolds him. You send them right into Madame Ava before we can make sure that they have comforts of our encampment. And Stanmir has sort of like a twinkle in his eye, and he responds with, you know Madame Ava, she wanted to see them. And I don't think anybody here wants to disagree with what she says. And he kind of has a guffaw and a bit of a chuckle, a deep-bellied chuckle. But nonetheless, you have finished your reading. I don't know if Madame Ava said that you should not share it, but that is for you to know, and it is very important that you do not share the results of a reading. It is very bad luck, very bad luck. And his hands are sort of gesturing in front of him as he emphasizes that. But you are welcome here in Serpool. Do you plan on staying the night, or? And then he looks up at the sky. Or were you trying to maybe return to the village? What is your plans?
I believe we were planning on staying the night, if that is acceptable.
And another male sort of walks up, and he's looking over at the group of you, kind of from a distance, but appraising you and looking you over. You are most welcome to stay the night. We have a warm fire, music, food. Helga has seen to your bird, and we have a stew just about ready to serve. You are more than welcome to come over by the fire and warm yourselves from your travels.
Well, thank them for the hospitality. Move over to the fire then.
I
And as
will.
you
I will go over to the fire and maybe check on how Gray and the dog are doing with their playtime.
Sure. As you depart from the tent, those of you who kind of linger in behind will note that this male over here, walking up to Stanimir, there's hushed voices, and you can hear, would I be able to also join you for tonight, Stanimir? I will leave at the appropriate time. And Stanimir smiles and claps him on the shoulder and very quietly says, but of course, Arturi, you are welcome. You are welcome. We will have a place for you. And Arturi, who this gentleman is called, offers like sort of a shy, soft smile and also wanders over to the fire.
I'm sorry, what was the woman's name?
Eliza. She introduced herself as Eliza.
Okay.
Let's get some room here for everybody. Yeah. And you notice, I gotta pop her out. Where are they? The Raven is doing much better. And it's actually seemingly conscious and in good spirits. And as you wander over to the fire, it sort of croaks at you in almost a conversational manner. Preening at its feathers. There's a mote of intelligence in its eyes as it appraises you, and you almost get the impression that as you approach, it nods its head, almost in thanks. And Helga kind of looks up at the bird.
Can you hold 1 second? Sorry.
Yeah. Is there anything you want to do with Marigold while you're up there, Dave?
I came back down.
Oh, I see you. I think the old woman will be over here. Maybe she can squeeze in between you and Stanmere. And there is room for somebody else there.
All right, sorry again.
No worries.
That's okay.
So yeah, the Raven appears to be in good spirits. It seems to be perfectly healthy. Helga will relate to you that she was able to remove all of the barbs, and they're in a small pile next to the fire. You can see them kind of gleaming there. And she explains that as soon as the last barb was removed from the bird, all of the wounds knitted up and healed almost on their own, and the bird returned itself to perfect health and has not left the camp. It's been perched on one of the wagons, sort of waiting for you guys to exit and come back out.
Cora will gesture at the bird and say, "You look much better."
The bird sort of makes a clicking sound almost in response.
I am going to cast Talk with Animals on myself.
Finally.
So long. So long.
Okay.
Cast. Oh. Why did that go 3? Oh, because I thought it didn't go. Okay,
Yes.
sorry. Got it. All right. So, what did the crow say to Cora? Or that was after?
That was, yes.
Okay,
that
so
was
I have
after.
to. So I will call the crow over for a conversation.
Okay, so I'll be interested, just like we
Good
did last
thought.
night with Radagast, I would like to know, are you speaking to it conversationally, or are you like whistling to it? Like,
Well, it's not like a universal translator,
yeah.
or is it?
It's magic.
Maybe my spell is a universal translator, and it's like this fog that sits in front
Mm.
of me, and then I'll speak through it, and it translates into crow for it.
So you would like to talk normally, and the others will hear your English talking, and then, or your common talking,
Yeah.
and then the responses only you will understand?
Or maybe I'll speak to it in Elvish, and
Oh,
then
I like that.
yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Okay. So you're going to
Okay.
call it over?
Yeah.
Okay. It's going to, like, are you holding your arm out?
Yeah.
Okay. So it,
And Wrath is up on the caravans, but he'll hop over to listen in.
so it comes down and,
They don't get to hear your sound effects.
oh man, that was a good sound effect too.
He made the wing sound effects.
We actually heard that one.
Oh,
Oh,
did you?
really? Awesome.
So it lands on your arm. What would you like to say to it?
Well, I'd like to ask why the Strix was attacking it. Yeah, but
Oh.
ask why the Strix was attacking it
So-
first.
So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to mute myself, and because I have the advantage of having you in the room with me, I will tell you what it says, and then I will let you decide how much you want to share with your friends.
Okay.
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 So
Easier
it
than
croak-
typing.
It croaks and sort of clicks in response.
I was hoping her mic would pick it up and we could cheat.
I feel like Ento is probably responding, and we should be able to hear Ento talking.
Yeah, we're going to hear.
Yeah, you're just gonna. Okay, and then I'll ask. Well, I'll say, we saw you in town. Is that your normal home?
And the raven sort of looks at you quizzically, cocks its head, and makes a sort of a clicking sound, almost like a key turning in a lock. She's just contemplating what I told her.
Sorry. I'll turn to the group. Is there anything you would like to ask the Raven?
Did you learn anything of importance?
Not really. The Strix wasn't targeting it specifically. It doesn't seem like it was just, hunting, and it finally got the better of it.
Ask it if it knows anything of Strahd and like the I guess the goings on of this land.
Okay.
So as you say that, Cora, the bird doesn't wait for a translation, and
Fair.
its wings spread out, and it kind of flaps sort of excitedly and croaks in a raven-like manner. And Elanil, you hear the raven exclaim, and after delivering that, the bird takes a moment to calm down, to simmer down, preening its feathers nervously.
Well, Strahd has his marketing right. Strahd is the land.
Like
Strahd
the
is
actual
the
earth?
darkness. Well, like the kind of the darkness over the land. So like it kind of seems like Strahd's very being is like permeating everything.
Is the raven a fan of Strahd?
You see how upset he got.
Just checking. He could have been upset like because we didn't like Strahd.
The raven croaks, and you get the intonation that they identify as female.
Oh, sorry.
Does the raven have a name that it would like us to use in reference to it?
It snaps its beaks at Cora and then turns to Elanil and lets out a chirping sound that sounds a little bit like glass beads falling on tile work.
Like clink or clack or ding?
Raven. The raven's name is Muriel.
Cora will look at the raven and say, "Hello, Muriel. It's nice to meet you."
The raven almost smiles at you.
I will make the offer to Muriel that she is welcome to accompany us or return back to her rookery when she's feeling up to it.
Okay. The raven listens to you very carefully before responding with what sounds like a clicking sound, like the tapping of fingernails on a chalkboard.
So Drezek kind of looks around and says, "Is nobody going to ask why we have a what seems to be an intelligent raven following us around? Is
Really,
that normal for you guys?"
That's the weirdest thing you're thinking of? I
That's
mean,
one of many.
I have a little like primal raven on my shoulder, and you're worried about the one that has the blue wings.
Yeah. Does every animal act like a person around here? Is this normal?
Do you not have anyone that can speak with animals?
Do I know? I don't normally.
You've never
speak with
seen anyone
animals.
speak with animals?
I have. This raven just seems far more intelligent and far more self-aware than a typical bird.
I mean, I'll look at you a little disdainfully because corvids are known for their intelligence. But
Whatever.
Cora will pipe up and say, "The bird seems really nice. I like Muriel."
you don't want a dark cloak of death following you. I
So
get it.
has your raven interacted with Muriel at all?
No, he's
Like,
just they're just like listening in at the top of from the top of the caravan. I'm not sure how they would interact, but I think perhaps they don't want to scare it because it's a lot bigger. And I will tell Muriel that we are going to Veliki. And then bend my head bend my head a little closer to her ears and whisper, definitely in Elvish, so that the Vistani can't hear me, that we've been charged with dealing with Strahd.
And the raven will look at you very solemnly, its head sort of quirked off to the side, and respond with a croak that sounds a little bit like driftwood dropping on another piece of driftwood. Like it sounds like a hollow sort of like a sound. Yeah, and this is what they say.
Okay, and I'll nod my head and just turn and announce to the group that Muriel will join us on our way to Veliki, as she has family there.
Cora will say welcome to the party and also introduce Muriel to Gray and say, I know he's a rat and could potentially be prey. He's my companion. Please don't hurt him.
Muriel sort of croaks and stamps on one foot and then the other, almost like nodding towards you.
Cora will nod back and say thank you.
And Drezek will break off a little piece of hardtack or whatever he's got food-wise and toss it over to Muriel.
Very deftly snaps it out of the air as it arcs towards her, and she drops it on Elanil's outstretched hand and sort of tears it off into smaller pieces with its talons and snaps them up with her beak and starts eating them.
And I will definitely smile over at Drez for that. Grateful that he's accepted her company.
Curious why the birds talk, but that's okay.
You know, I was just looking through my inventory to see if I could give like Muriel a gift of like a shiny thing, because birds like shiny things.
Mm-hmm.
But the only thing I have are the silver barbs.
That would be that may not be appropriate. Would you like some of these?
Oh wait. I have. No, I don't really have anything. I'll be keeping an eye out for shiny trash though, that I can gift the bird to make friends.
So
Did it call us featherless crow friend? Oh, sorry, wrong game.
So as dusk descends around this cheery campfire, the Vistani begin serving you a dinner of hearty stew of rabbit, potatoes, turnips, lentils, and parsnips, alongside hearty chunks of a flatbread. And the stew is hot. It's a simple stew, but it tastes good, especially traveling all day as you have been, and you've been involved in some combat. So it's particularly hitting quite well. It's a well-made, delicious meal.
I will say thank them for the food and tell them it's delicious.
Did Elanil say that they were going to Veliki out loud?
Yes, I said the Veliki part out loud.
Okay.
And
Oh, wow.
the other part more quiet.
So Eliza would cheerfully add in between mouthfuls of stew that I heard that you are going to Veliki. It is good that you're spending the night. It is too long to travel there for tonight. The roads in Barovia are quite dangerous.
Do you have any advice for us on our trip? We are new to this land, after all.
Stay on the roads, and once you decide to travel from one place to the next, do not hurry. You want to get to your destination before the sun goes down. At this, you're mentioning of that you're new to these lands. Arturi, who's again, as a reminder, this gentleman right here, sitting to Eliza's right, will turn to Cora, and he will ask her very quietly, "What news of the village? I have heard that there has been some tough times."
Yes, they were recovering as best they could when we left.
And you came directly from the village?
Yes.
And just between spoonfuls of stew, he adds, kind of more thoughtfully, "Have you encountered a man named Rudolf van Richten?" He almost has a look of concern on his face.
Drezek looks at his party members with a shrug, like, I don't think we met a Rudolph.
I have him in my notes,
You do, I don't.
but my notes are not clear. I just have his name. My notes are shit, guys.
He was mentioned as part of the reason why what's his name went up to the castle, right? I'm sorry, I'm
Doru?
having trouble between the groups remembering.
Doru's the
make
guy that went to the
sense
castle.
because I have his name after a couple lines after Periwimple.
I
So
have Periwimple, Owanik, and Father Donovich. I don't have anybody after him.
right after Alanic, I have Rudolf von Richten. Dr. Rudolf von Richten.
Would you like the DM to step in and give you guys
Please.
a reminder? Yes.
Yes.
So if you recall, Doru said that he had met Alanic in the village, and Alanic had fought off a direwolf, and his hat was taken off, and he turned into the famous Rudolf van Richten. And he managed to
Vampire expert.
Yeah, he managed to convince him to help him siege the castle. And Periwimple would have known him as Alanic with his pet monkey. Yeah.
Fought off a dire wolf, like that's a big deal.
I will tell the guy that was asking that we have not met him.
I heard a rumor that he has been seen traveling Barovia. He was an acquaintance of mine.
Oh, tell us about him.
We knew each other long before Barovia. I just would very much like to see him again. And I heard that he...
Before Barovia, you're not from here either.
I'm Vistani. I travel. The mists don't hold me here, much like my kin, and I knew him before Barovia.
So he is also not from here.
No, he is not from Barovia.
And he's also not a Vistani?
He is not. He is more like you than he is like me.
I'm sorry, who's speaking? Is this
Arturi.
This is Arturi, okay.
Yeah. And
so I ask Arturi, I say, is because you're not from here, is that why you were having to ask permission to join us at the fire?
And he seems kind of like a bit caught off guard by your directness. It is a complicated thing. I do not remain at the Seer pool for long, unless I am permitted. And then he looks up sort of at the dimming light, and almost like he's gauging what time it is.
Aha.
Where do
Exactly.
you where do you go when you're not here?
I do not remain at the Ser pool overnight. It is a complicated story. Maybe one day I will share it with you. He seems very uncomfortable at this line of questioning, and he sort of dives back into his stew.
Am I near Cora?
Or Cora will say, "Well, I hope you stay safe at night, since everyone has advised us not to travel."
I'll
Very,
clear my throat very loudly
Yeah.
in Cora's direction.
And Drezek gives a surreptitious kind of gives
dumb.
a
She's
does-
just like poking the
the
bear a
claws.
little bit. Just for the record, if you
I just don't want to offend our hosts by this line of inquiry.
she seems very earnest when she says this. She wants him to stay safe.
He offers Cora sort of like a patronizing smile, almost like how a parent would like smile at a child asking a very innocent question that is actually quite like maybe offensive.
Well, I mean, Cora is quite tiny and like has this whole like cute little blonde hair girl thing going for her, even though she's verging on adulthood.
Draz, I like that. So at this moment, there's like maybe a pregnant, sort of awkward sort of moment. Stanmir interjects, and he's got a little bit of stew on his beard, and he just looks like this cheerful, sort of like humble old Vistani man. And he goes, "Well, my friends, now you must play the game of stories. Anyone who is around a Vistani fire for the first time, it is sort of like a tradition to play the game of stories. It is something we like to do, and perhaps you will enjoy yourselves." And he looks like he's already expecting that you guys will be participating in this, as he starts rummaging around in like a leather sack at his feet.
How does the game of stories work?
A good next question. To play, each one of you must put up a wager. Every good Vistani game starts with a wager, which can be an object of small, insignificant monetary, intellectual, or sentimental value. Now, each of you must then share a story, and the important part here is to make a man laugh or weep. Now, each time a story is told, and he kind of gestures around the fire, you must guess whether the story is truth, falsehood, or both. And at the end of the game, those of you with the most correct guesses will win the pot. And he kind of has this bright, sort of cheery look on his face. You almost get the impression that maybe he's already started to have a couple drinks, as he pulls out what looks to be a worn deck of Taraka cards from his bag. And he's sort of waiting to see whether or not you guys are going to actually formally accept. Like he's waiting for that formal acceptance of that game.
Cora's looking through her inventory to try and find something to put up. He can see her digging around in a bag.
Elanil is going to surreptitiously just like sidle away into the darkness, and her crows will follow. She's still within your earshot, but
where are
very,
you going, young elf woman?
clearly not engaging in that.
So this is just clarification for me. It's something that is slightly valuable, but it's also like supposed to be meaningful, or it just has some value?
An object of small monetary, intellectual, or sentimental value. And it could be something from your inventory. It could be something that you decide to, as the DM, I will permit you to like retcon something personal that you would have kept on your person. This is an opportunity for you to develop your character and to do something interesting and creative and fun. I will also be doing a break right after this starts. I will be doing a break to give you guys about 10 minutes, probably even stretch it to 20, to come up with a story. This was the creative part of this session. You guys will go off and come up with something that you can share, and then it'll all go around the fire after the break is over.
Can you explain the rules one more time?
Yeah, so it's the Vistani game of stories where you're around a campfire, and it's considered traditional that people who share a Vistani campfire are almost obligated socially to participate in this game. It's sort of a cultural exchange. If you've ever been in Newfoundland, it's like kissing the cod. It's sort of a thing that you would do. You will put up a wager at the beginning of the game, and then you will, when it's your turn, share a story that will, quote, make a man laugh or weep. Each time a story is told, all of the participants must guess whether or not the story is true, false, or both. At the end of the game, the participant that had the most correct guesses wins the pot of all of these items.
Got it.
Stanimir looks up at you. He's holding a worn deck of Taraka cards. Looks like a complete deck of Taraka cards. So what have you, my friends? Do we have a game?
What are the cards for? I don't get it.
Oh, this is my wager.
Oh.
They've sat unused and dusty in my wagon for long enough. I think my wife, she would like it if they were out in the world again.
So Drezek, from his pack, pulls out one of the ornamental decorative short swords that, with the windmill on the hilt that he got from the Death House, and says, "I'll offer up this beautifully crafted sword that came from a house not far from here."
I know. I think I recognize that cameo. What a beautiful weapon.
Cora will put up the deed to the Durst Manor that she kept.
Oh. He kind of looks over at the deed and smiles and says, "My very own windmill."
Ento?
Ento's already declared herself out.
I won't.
I'm trying to participate in another way. Just give me a second.
I
honestly have nothing for a story, but I am frantically scrolling through the backstory that I wrote for Cora looking for ideas.
I won't offer anything up until story time.
The Raven. Who tipped Raven? Yes, Raven. Muriel is a Raven. Just making
Yes,
sure.
she is a Raven.
Okay. So she has hopped over to the fire, and Wrath comes flying in and drops an iron candlestick by the fire. And it's obvious that as Muriel lands on the candlestick, that's her contribution to the storytelling. And she is going to take part.
Sorry, Muriel is going to take part?
Mm-hmm.
I can't let you do that.
Why not?
Because Muriel is mine. Muriel is me.
I really want Muriel to take part, though. That sounds fun.
No, I got
Muriel-
a question though.
I can't translate for Muriel talking through me
You want Muriel to
tell a story.
Like, and you're gonna be giving Muriel the story, and Muriel's gonna speak for you.
No, the opposite way. Muriel is going to tell a story through me.
You're gonna play telephone with Muriel.
Yeah, pretty much. You can say no, but I tried to come up with a story.
Okay, let's.
I know it's for character development, whatever.
Well, let's table that. I'm interested, but I need to ask you more questions off
That's
voice
fine.
to find a
That's
little bit more.
fine.
No, I'm interested.
We can retcon
No,
that away, but
I'm
it's
interested.
fine.
I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by this. So we'll just but on the break I'll ask maybe some additional questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got Muriel. We've got the deed. We've got the short sword. Um, Standing there looks over at Ankh, who's the only one that hasn't actually not the only one. So as this is going around the campfire, Eliza, she reaches into the bodice of her dress and she pulls out what looks like a small brass spyglass. And she kind of flashes like a sultry smile to the group as she sort of extends the spyglass, and there's a small maneuverable mirror that pivots out away from the end of the lens, and you get the impression that this would allow you to peer around corners without exposing yourself. After she's done that, she places it on the ground in front of her, and Arturi kind of fumbles a little bit. He seems like he's like a little bit awkward, like maybe kind of socially awkward. He fumbles a little bit in his own backpack, and he pulls out a reef of what looks to be papers, and the papers are like a 5x7 size. And in kind of a stilted explanation, he describes that it's a manuscript on werewolves, authored by Dr. Rudolf van Richten, and almost sort of regretfully he places it in front of him as if he would hate to lose it. And then Irina, watching as everybody places these items in front of them by the fire, she reaches up into her hair and she pulls out a painted wooden hair clip in the shape of a sunflower, and she explains in a soft voice that she has worn this in some fashion or another since she was a child, and she places it on the ground in front of her. And Ankh, do you plan on participating, or is it sort of like a...
Yeah, but the thing that I'm going to offer, I probably won't offer up until it's time.
That's not how you play poker.
Yeah, I'll bet after I know what all your cards are.
Yeah, like, my friend, this is not how you play. Is it a secret thing?
Sorry, I'm focusing on the story.
No worries.
My brain's there. So Mesker sighs and he pulls out a blade, or what's left of a long sword, and he says, "It'll be a piece of this."
Interesting. A broken blade. That sounds like a story. And he kind of laughs jovially and starts passing around what looks to be a flask of wine, essentially, after he takes a long pull of it. And at that point, we're about to begin the stories. I will say 20 minutes. If you guys need more time, let me know, but 20 minutes, and you guys can go off and plan your stories. It doesn't have to be elaborate. It doesn't have to be crazy. It doesn't have to be huge. It can be whatever you want. Like I said, truth, falsehood, or both. This is the idea of like a Vistani sort of thing. It could be anything. It could be absolutely anything.
I'm ready.
Of course you are.
I'm close, actually. I'm close.
Well,
Making a bullet point list here. I just want to.
I'm gonna institute 20 minutes though. I'm gonna set an alarm on my phone here, and
Okay.
I'm gonna get something to drink, and I'll be away from the keyboard.
Okay.
I'm back.
Welcome back.
Are people still AFK?
I'm here.
Making popcorn.
Ooh. Popcorn before story time. That's a good idea.
Back with my popcorn.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
I'm back.
Welcome back. You guys are punctual. Is everyone ready?
I'm gonna be honest, I don't have high hopes for my story, but I am ready.
I put you guys in the spot. It's all good. Doesn't have to be extravagant.
Actually, give me 2 seconds.
Sure.
I just realized my water cup was empty. Hey, I'm good.
Okay. So, no time has passed since Stanmir had taken a pull from his wine flask and has passed it on to Drez to his right. He doesn't look at Drez to see if he actually takes a sip or not, but he leans forward and his mouth is full of this wine. And he spits into the fire, and the flames turn from orange and then to green, And as they dance and sway, a dark shape appears in the bonfire's core. And for anyone here who's experienced or has been around magic, they could see that its hands, what looks to be like he's just gesticulating, like he's telling a story. He's actually casting a spell. We come from an ancient land whose name is long forgotten, a land of kings. Our enemies forced us from our homes, and now we wander the lost roads. The dark shape in the fire takes the form of a man being knocked from his horse, a spear piercing his side. Stanmir continues with his story. One night, a wounded soldier staggered into our camp and collapsed. We nursed his terrible injury and quenched his thirst with wine. He survived. When we asked him who he was, he wouldn't say. All he wanted was to return home. But we were deep in the land of his enemies. We took him as one of our own and followed him back toward his homeland. His enemies hunted him. They said he was a prince. Yet we didn't give him up, even when their assassins fell upon us like wolves. Deep in the bonfire, as this magic is playing out, you see the dark figure standing with sword drawn, fighting off a host of shadowy shapes. This man of royal blood fought to protect us as we protected him. We bore him safely to his home, and he thanked us. He said, I owe you my life. Stay as long as you wish. Leave when you choose. And know that you will always be safe here. The figure in the dancing fire vanquishes its final foe in this back and forth battle that's taking place, and then disperses in a cloud of smoke and embers. And he looks over at Cora with a glint in his eye. And now would be the time to guess. Truth, false, or both.
I think truth.
Okay. Drezek?
Can I roll an insight check on him?
I'm going to say no, not for this.
Okay. I'm going to say both.
Both? Half true, half false?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Elanil?
I'm also gonna go true.
Mesker?
I am going to go with both.
Okay. As these answers come around the corner, it comes to Eliza, and she looks at Stanimir with like a knowing kind of expression. I am going to say the answer is true. The story is true. And then Arturi, watching this exchange, sort of his eyes darting down to his manuscript. Half true. Half true. And Irina, her quiet voice breaking the silence. Half true. And then Stanimir chuckles. The answer, it was a true story. It was a true story. And he smiles.
Roll for initiative.
It is a true tale of the Vestani people. Yes, the wounded prince lived on as a friend to the Vestani. Even when things become a little complicated, as things went on. Okay, and he gestures to one of you. It's your guys' turn. One of you players will have to. Who wants to go first?
Not I.
Where's my scoreboard here? I do have a scoreboard, so I can keep track of things. Eliza got one right. Elanil got one right. And Cora got one right.
Eaters.
Okay. Who's next?
I'll go.
Stanimir's eyes kind of sparkle as he takes another pull of wine, pulling it from Drez's hands. Not sure if he's taking a drink, but takes another drink and then hands it back to Drez. Go, my friend, go!
So Mesker looks down at the ground, pulls a broken blade from his pouch, and takes a piece of the blade that's worn and broken, and breaks it off and tosses it into wherever the pile was. I didn't pay really much attention to that. As he starts talking, his voice almost goes complete monotone, and he's just staring at the ground. He goes, "That's a piece of Gareth's blade, or, I mean, what's left of it. It's pretty much all I have left of my men. We came up together through the ranks. For some reason, they decided that I was the one to be promoted. I thought it was folly. The people above us said it was valor. They always say it's valor. So I became a sergeant. That's what you know me. The last campaign that we fought in together was some years ago, some unnamed plane. We fought for a lord who was protecting his land from some rival lord. Everyone's heard that story. It happens all the time. The battle, well, it was pitched in our favor from the very beginning. There was no way that this man could overtake the army that was before him. On our final push, this mist, this black, dark mist, came over the battlefield, and this thing came at us. It was huge. I can't even describe the size. I think I counted maybe 3 eyes, maybe more. Looked like it was ripped in half. I thought for a while, as we were fighting the men around us, trying to get to it to stop whatever it was, I thought for a minute it was ripped in half, but what was inside the rip was teeth. Everyone died. Every time it attacked, every time it killed, it got angrier. And just continued to kill and kill and kill. Gareth was the last. His sword shattered on its teeth, I guess. I woke up days later. I have no idea how I survived. And then he just goes quiet and stares at the ground.
It's a long moment of silence as everybody's taking this in. The Vistani sort of looking at their feet and then kind of looking over at Mesker sort of uncertainly. And then there's this sort of loud sound coming from Stanimir's direction. I'm going to say half true. 3 eyes. He's obviously had enough to drink that he's not really picking up on the gravity sort of your tale. So he's going to guess half true. Stanimir. Cora, how guess you?
He'll say in a really quiet voice, true.
Drezek, how guess you?
Drezek looks over to Mesker with sincere empathy and says, true.
Elanil?
I'll say anybody with half a brain can see that it's true.
Oh, man. God damn. And we sleep outside.
Yep. I mean, he's in his cups. He's not really gonna pay attention to my insults.
Eliza looks at Mesker, sort of her eyes squinting. If you could break the fourth wall, you'd think that she's trying to do an insight check on you. And she goes, I am going to say that the man with the sledgehammer is a good actor. I say false. As she kind of points her finger at you. cheerfully. You'd be offended if it wasn't so cheerfully delivered. And then Arturi is very softly and very quietly just says, "It is a true story."
Was that everybody?
Yes, I believe so.
Did the dog say anything?
One of the dogs sort of wanders over to you and places its snout on your boot.
Oh,
Just very quietly, almost just enough so everybody can hear, just says, "It's all true."
Stanmir's eyes are kind of glassy, and he's looking over at Mesker with a somber expression on his face as the DM calculates the score here.
Ah!
So that's Cora, Drezek, Elanil, Arturi. Arturi. Okay. So Eliza pauses for a moment just to let the silence sort of settle before she opens her mouth. It is said that within each raven flutters a lost soul, and that each raven's song tells a tale of ages past. They whisper, so listen closely. She takes a deep breath, and when she speaks again, her voice is quiet, with an eerie, musical quality to it. Sing, ravens of Barovia, birthed from the mists and bathed in twilight. Sing of Lugdana, the morning lord's stalwart, dawn-touched foe to the deep lurking dark. The holy symbol of ravenkind, her radiant testament, the warrior's beacon of a faithful resolve. Sing, ravens of Chernavog's rise, named green god and demon lord upon Yester Hill. Logdana, grey-haired, weary of battle, her long sword and shield yet polished and ready, guided through shadows towards sacred ground, she clashed with the demon, their tempest-like dance. Sing, ravens of Logdana's last fury, of Ravenkind's token now blazing with light. The battle's tide turning, a hero brave's cry, a final onslaught with divinity's grace. The demon lord banished, the warrior now fell, the wound at her side gouged too deep to bear. Sing, ravens of light's final moments, a shadow descending from radiance on high. Sing of the angel, black-feathered and beaked, the morning lord's angel reclaiming its gift, the symbol retaken, in ravens' claws held. And she pauses for a moment for effect. Sing, ravens, you are the keepers, the watchers, the tellers of stories untold. Sing, ravens of Logdana's memory, the shadows that lurk, and the heroes to come. Any guesses?
Drezek says half true.
Cora says, I agree.
Elanil?
I'll just nod my head
Half true?
for half true. Yep.
Mesker?
Just nods his head. He's kind of lost now.
Triggered, I get it. Stanmir kind of looks over at Eliza, his nose sort of wrinkling up. I say it is a true story. Arturi, I think it is a false story. And Irina sort of shaking her head, also saying that it's a false story. And Eliza reveals with a wry grin, it is a half-true story. And that's pretty good for you guys. Let's see here. So Cora, half true. Drezek, half true. Elanil, half true. Mesker, half true. And everyone else got it wrong.
What's the current score? Because I haven't been keeping track.
You're winning.
Like,
Elanil and
You
Cora
and Elanil are winning.
are tying. Yeah, they're tied for in first place.
What
Followed by
happened-
Drezek, followed by Arturi and Mesker.
what happens if we end up tying? Do we just split the pot?
Fight for the death.
I guess you guys are gonna have to figure that out. Yeah.
This is not included in the rules.
I don't think the pot is part of the main purpose.
Eliza leans forward and smiles and says, Lagdana was a paladin of the Morning Lord who bore the legendary holy symbol of Ravenkind. According to legend, the symbol was given to Lagdana by an angel in the guise of a raven. She kind of chuckles and Stanmere wrinkles his nose again. I don't know if I believe any of that. No one knows what happened to the symbol after Lagdana fell at Yester Hill, nor where it resides to this day. Half true, maybe. I don't know.
What did the symbol look like?
She shrugs her shoulders. Nobody knows. Okay, who's next? Another player, please.
Drezek hops up to his feet with a flourish. Says, I'll go. He begins slowly walking around the fire, making eye contact with everybody sitting around. He says, this is a story. I'm going to lighten the mood up here a little bit about wine, women, and riches. Far to the north, there's a small town. And this small town's pride and joy was their patron hero. This was not any hero. This hero had saved the town from multiple invaders, multiple enemies. He had saved the town from barbarian hordes, from evil wizards, and even a powerful demon, a Baelor, from the deepest levels of the abyss. Eventually, the hero left town to go do things that heroes tend to do. And over time, the legends of the hero grew and grew. The town erected a statue to the hero. And as Drezek's telling the story, he's slowly pacing around in a circle around the fire. But years later, the hero returned to the town, and the town was overjoyed. They showered him with riches. They showered him. He could not buy his own drink. His money was no good in that town. They gave him a veritable mansion to live in. He had his pick of the women in town. Drezek looks over at Elanil, winks at her. Beautiful women. As many women as he wanted. He was constantly showered with wine and gifts and riches. Living the life that a true retired hero should live. But there was one problem. The hero was not actually a hero. He was indeed an imposter. At this point, Drezek unties the thong that keeps his ponytail or wraps and shakes his long white hair out. This imposter had been abusing the privileges of the town, embarrassing them, taking them for everything they had, and they fell for every bit of it. The con lasted for years. Years and years, and the hero lived the life of a king at the expense of the townspeople. But as all good things, they can come to an end. A very noble, wise, and honorable guard of the town started doing some research. He noticed some things that didn't seem right about the hero. He suspected something was amiss. And sure enough, after his investigation proved that the hero was indeed an imposter, he finished his investigation, attacked the imposter, captured him, put him to trial. After living for years at the expense of the townspeople, the hero was then tried of crimes. The imposter was tried of crimes and placed in a prison, ironically, underneath the very mansion that he had lived such a luxurious life.
What a wonderful story! What was this hero's name?
Drezek just shrugs it off. Names aren't important.
I am going to say it is true. Something so outlandish can't but not be true. All right, Cora?
I also think that's true.
Elanil?
Half true.
Okay. Mesker?
Would have been true if they come to me sooner, but it's half true.
Eliza will go. And with the sledgeman, I think it's half true. I've seen that kind of theatrics before. Every good story has elements of truth to it. Arturi goes, I think it's true. And Irina also nods her head and says, that sounds true.
Drezek ties his hair back up into his tight ponytail, sits back down to the spot at the fire, leans back and says, it is half true. The imposter did everything I talked about, but he was never, ever caught.
Never, ever.
Stanmir pounds his knee. Oh, I'm not doing very well, my friends. So Cora, that is not one for Cora. Elanil got it right. Eliza got it right. And Mesker got it right. All right, another one from our new friends here. And he looks to Cora and Elanil.
I don't have a story to share, but our new feathered friend has offered to share in my stead. She says, gesturing at the raven who's been perched on the candlestick by the fire, listening intently.
And Stanimir looks over at the raven, but I do not speak raven.
I'll speak the raven, and you all can listen.
And with that, Muriel sort of exaggeratedly leans forward, almost like a bow, and preens at her side, picking at a feather, before she croaks for a couple of seconds. The croaking sounding a little bit like wine being poured from a clay vessel as it gets towards sort of like the end of the wine. There's not a whole bunch left inside.
So Muriel says that one of her Rook sisters told a tale of a season of egg hatching where one of her eggs didn't hatch. And as they cleaned out the nest after the chicks were fledged, and the egg lay there in the bottom of the nest, they tossed it over the side and watched it fall down out of the nest, hit the ground with a crack, and it broke open. And as it lay there, a beam of light shines through the trees onto this open egg, and they see a sparkle. So they fly to the grounds to investigate. Their investigations revealed that inside the egg was a ruby shining in the light. a raven laid a ruby in an egg.
And
And
as Elanil will translate that, sorry.
Okay.
Muriel's wings are spread in a very sort of troubadour-like fashion. Go ahead, love. Continue. Oh, that's it.
We can't hear
Uh,
anything. If Ento said anything.
I
Yeah.
didn't. No. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Just checking.
Yeah. So I'll just look around the circle, kind of like in disbelief as I finish telling the story.
So, let me get this straight. A raven laid a ruby? Like the gemstone?
I nod and say that is what Muriel said.
Ugh, birds don't lay gemstones. That is false if I ever heard one. Cora?
Cora's like, this is probably wrong, and my brain tells me not to say this, but my heart says it's true. So she's gonna say it's true.
Drezek?
False.
Irina pops up and she says, I think it is half true. I think the bird was the color of rubies. Mesker?
True.
Eliza is staring very intently at Elanil and Muriel, not really saying much of anything before she finally goes, I think it is true. And Arturi nodding at Irina, I think it is half true. Muriel sort of hops up on one foot and flutters her wings, hovering in air for a moment, craning her head back, and making a clicking sound between her beaks that sounds like caltrops dropping on stone.
I guess that's her laughing.
I guess we'll never know.
The story is true.
Drezek laughs out loud, tosses another piece of hardtack to Muriel and says, well played, bird, well played.
What did you do with the ruby?
Muriel snaps up the hardtack and looks to Cora before gobbling the hardtack down. But that one look before she gobbled that hardtack could be an expression that you could only really describe as a grin. I am 0 for 0 right now, friends. It looks like I am not going to win anything tonight. Huh? And then he looks to Cora. It is you, my friend. And then Arturi, you shall be last. No, Irina, yes. But yeah, let's hear from you, little one.
So Cora is gonna stand up on the log, and she is going to cast Minor Illusion. So you guys will see like a kind of spectral illusion of everything she says happening.
Oh ho ho!
So my mother Elowen was a famous alchemist. When I was 6, I was, helping in the lab, and I may have accidentally caused an explosion. It's how I got the scar under my eye, and she'll point to it. And she says the purple vial was just so swirly and shiny, and I had to mess with it. Unfortunately, the vial was a cure for Fey Shadow Fever that my mom was working on, an unfinished cure. I don't suppose anybody knows what that is, and she'll kind of look around at everybody. And she'll say, well, it causes persistent fever, a weakened immune system, sporadic bouts of magical disorientation and odd spectral phenomena based on the hallucinations the sick person is having. It also stunted my growth, but anyway, I came down with Face Shadow Fever. My mother knew that she had to finish her cure, and to do that she needed some more exotic plants from the Feywild. So she went on a quest, a journey to find them, and left me with my father, my elder sister, Lysandra, and my infant brother. It started off with me just feeling sick and miserable, but as I got sicker, the fever got higher, and the hallucinations started. This is where things get embarrassing. The hallucinations that I was having also started appearing in the real world. From my perspective, I was sitting in a giant field atop of a huge sunflower. It was soaring high above the clouds. The sunflower was magical though, and it had the power of the sun. It introduced itself as Sunny Lathander. He took me on an adventure. We traveled to all kinds of amazing places. We went to a magical city under the ocean. We visited the astral plane, even a weird plane of fire. In the end, he helped me defeat the nemesis of my 6-year-old self, my greatest fear, the local goose. Her name was Millie. Geese can be pretty territorial, and as you can imagine, a 6-year-old halfling is quite small compared to a full-grown goose. It was terrifying at the time. And as you can imagine, all of these things my hallucinations are appearing in spectral form around the house, terrorizing my father and sister, destroying the house. The house was nearly wrecked by the time my mother got home and was able to concoct the cure. And when I came back to my right mind, the house was in shambles, and I started down the path to learning about Lathander. That is how we got a new house, and every time I saw Millie after that, she would honk and run away in fright.
Stanmir will just look at you, his jaw just on the floor. And he'll be like, I know this is a false story, because I have not met a goose yet who would run from anything. And Drezek, what do you think?
I think it's true. I've seen her in action. I'd run from her too.
Elanil.
Definitely true. The wrecked house.
Mesker.
True.
Eliza's sort of tapping her chin, looking at the little halfling on the log. I am going to say half true. You had me until the flying sunflower. And Arturi will nod sagely. Half true. I'm thinking half true. You know, sunflowers are my favorite flower, Irina offers, smiling. I am going to say it is true.
It is true.
Wonderful. So that is Irina. Got her
Or
first one.
Stanimir.
I know.
Ofer. He's an Ofer.
I should really not drink when we play this game, eh? Eliza did not get it. So it was, let's see here, it was Cora. Well, Cora actually told the story. So Irina, Drezek, Mesker, and Elanil. The sign of a cohesive party is that they know. All right. All right, we have heard from our newfound friends. Arturi, I believe it is time to hear from you. And Arturi sort of clears his throat and leans forward. There once was a fox renowned for his wisdom and skill, who dwelled with his kit in the misted woods. Now, on a cold and moonlit night, a pair of sparrows brought him their child, the tendrils of death clutching its shivering body. The fox took the chick into his den, but for all his knowledge he could not cure its ailment, and it breathed its last in his paws. Driven mad in their grief, the vengeful sparrows, aided by 4 of their kin, stole the fox's kit in the night. They delivered him to the wolf, who had long hungered for the taste of fox flesh. The wolf devoured the kit, and the sparrows departed to return to their flock. Now when the fox found what the sparrows had done, rage clutched his own heart, and in his cunning he knew that the rats, and he kind of looks over to Gray, in their burrows beneath the earth, had always despised the songs of the sparrows far above. The fox descended to the kingdom of the rats, and he promised them a forest free of the songs of the sparrows. Intrigued, the rats agreed. The rats could not find the sparrows' nest alone, but the crafty fox could, and as the sparrows slumbered in the hollow of a great oak, the rats fell upon them to feast with tooth and claw. For the crimes of 6, the flock perished, with nary an egg spared. The misted wood is darkened now, and the trees no longer sing with the songs of the sparrows. But some say that the rats hunt still, that the lone chick yet escaped their clutches, and that one day they will find it and gobble it up like the rest. Well, I don't know, Stanmir says, kind of like running his fingers through his beard. I think I would like to hear what the others think. Cora.
Half true.
Drezek.
Half true. Nice allegory, but half true.
Elanil.
That's also what I was thinking. Half true.
Mesker.
I'm gonna say false.
Eliza smiling at Arturi from beneath her dark locks. I am going to say false. That was the worst story I have ever heard. Huh? And Irina winces a little bit at that harsh criticism, but
Worse than a giant sunflower. Cora will say.
Arturi kind of offers you like a kind smile, like, thanks. Irina says, I think it is also false. And then, sort of in this silence, everyone recognizes that Stanimir hasn't said anything, and they all look over to him, and he pauses and he goes, I'm going to say it is true. My gut says it is not true, but I think it is true. And Arturi offers a shy smile and says that it is true.
But a sad wood with no sparrows.
That means Stanmir stands alone with his one. But yes, Arturi offers Elanil a solemn nod in acknowledgement of that profound truth. And then
So who won?
Stanmir turns to Irina. I believe you are the last one, lady. And Irina pauses and looks around, and then clasps her hands together and begins her story. When I was a child, my father took me and my brother to a vast, tranquil lake. I remember the sand beneath my bare feet, and the lapping of the waves against the shore. But then something broke the silence, a low growl that echoed through the wind. As I turned, I saw a beast emerge from the fog. A wolf, far larger than I'd ever seen. I still remember its eyes, yellow, cold, and hungry. My father screamed for me to run. I took off for the woods, and the wolf followed, its snarls echoing through the underbrush. I remember branches whipping against my face, thorns cutting at my feet as my legs burned and my breath grew ragged, but my fear drove me forward. It was only much later, when my heart had quieted in my chest and the wolf's footsteps had faded into silence, that I finally allowed myself to stop. By then, though, the woods were strange to me, and my father's shouts had faded. A heavy mist had descended around me, and shadowed shapes lurked in every corner. I stepped forward, one hand reaching fearfully into the fog, and a wolf made of mist leapt forth, its jaws opened wide to devour me, and then everything went black. The next thing I remembered, I awoke in my own bed, my father's humming echoing from the kitchen. I don't know how I got there, or what became of the wolf, but I can still remember its teeth as clearly as ever.
True.
True for Elanil. Cora.
True.
Drezek.
As he takes a long stare at her and strokes his chin. True.
Mesker.
True.
Stanmir looking over at Irina, almost a sad look on his grandfatherly face. I am going to say true as well. And almost speaking at once, Arturi and Eliza both say false. And Irina, with a quiet laugh, reveals that the story was false.
Oh.
The story, the story is a dream that I've had since childhood. There are no lakes near the village of Borovia, and I've never seen the dire wolf until recently. And Stanimir, in the silence, smiles. Sometimes dreams have kernels of truth, my dear. But thank you for sharing your tale. But please, my friends, who has kept count? I have not. He looks around the campfire, and Arturi has a small piece of parchment and what looks to be like a piece of charcoal, and he smiles shyly, and he looks over to Elanil. The fair elf over there has a final score of 5. You know what though? Just 1 second. I'm gonna retcon here because I did not count Irina's tale. 1 second. The only one who got it right was Eliza and Arturi, according to Irina. So, yes, that's true. The elf with the strange white bird had the most correct guesses. Ah, well, the pot goes to her then. I hope you like Taraka cards. So you can add a candlestick. Oh, did you? That's right. That's yours. It's your candlestick. You can add. You can add a candlestick, a short sword with the Durst cameo, a bit of broken blade, a deed to a windmill, and what were the other 4 up there? The spyglass with the mirror on it. This is the ones that you really probably want to write down. Spyglass with the mirror. A worn deck of Taraka cards that belonged to Stanmir's late wife. May it serve you well. Arturi hands you meekly a manuscript on werewolves, which I can send to you in Discord. And Irina has her painted wooden hair clip in the shape of a sunflower that she wore since she was a child.
Question for you, Crane.
Yes.
I had written down separately deed to Durst Manor and deed to the windmill. Are those separate or are they one thing?
I just assumed that you put the windmill in, but is there a particular one that you wanted to throw in
No.
there? Because there is two.
The windmill's fine. I'll keep the manor one.
Cool.
I just wanted to check if they were the same thing or separate.
No, they're separate.
ones.
I believe they're separate, yeah. So at this, Arturi stands up, and he smiles to the group, looks to the sky, and he says very quietly, "I bid you fond farewell, my friends. It has been a pleasant evening, one which I have not had for quite some time. But I have been selfish tonight, and I've pushed my fortunes as far as I dare. I dare not remain any longer, for fear of the terror that might follow." And he smiles and takes a piece of hardtack with him and tucks it into his shirt and makes to leave.
I nod at him as he leaves.
"Well, my friend," Stanmir says, draining the last of the wine from the flask that Drezek was still holding, and then handing the empty flask back. "It is time, fast time, that Stanmir goes to bed. Rest easy. The Tser encampments are safe places, and I assure you that Madame Eva will ensure that no harm come to you while you share our hospitality." And he stands up, a little shaky at first, but steadying himself, and kind of wanders off to his wagon. And in the intervening minutes afterwards, you can kind of see in the camp that the other Vistani begin to wander off as well, kind of taking care of any last-minute things that they wanted to do that night. The dogs sort of wander over to the fire. The warm embers just kind of hanging out there as the fire kind of grows dimmer and dimmer. But yes, the other Vistani disappearing into their respective tents, going to bed for the night.
I will pitch my tent.
And Drezek finds himself a spot to meditate.
Go over by the water, do my meditating.
I'll say my tent's like here.
Okay.
I will, before I go to bed, you know how she's using the Book of Cora or whatever it is as her journal now? She will write the day's events into it.
Okay.
I took a torch with me for the first little bit, and I'm reading the werewolf manuscript.
Oh, thank you. I will send that to you. And you can do with that as you please. If you want to share that with the others, you may. Ento. There you are.
Didn't realize it was so far down on your list of friends.
We don't talk on Discord very often, because on account of the fact that you're right next to me.
Wow, Monk and I talk all the time, guys. Step it up.
You really
you guys are also a few hundred miles apart.
Yeah.
No excuse. No excuse.
Oh, it's 2 pages long. Okay, so I'm going to read it, and then I'm probably going to offer it to Cora for reading as well, because my intention was not to take it with me, because obviously it meant a lot to Arturi, so I was going to leave it in the camp for him for when he returns.
Nice of you. Cora would definitely read it as well.
Cool. I will send it on when I'm done. And yeah. Okay.
Are we setting watches or anything? I'm assuming we probably don't really need to with the Vistani, but maybe
I
we
would
do.
assume that the Visani would take care of that. Anybody?
And Eva did tell us it's a very safe place to sleep. I don't think we would set a watch.
Mesker's already asleep.
I mean, we do have 2 elves who don't really sleep anyway.
You guys can take opposite meditation shifts.
I mean, meditation's not really sleep either.
I thought it put you out of kind of out of commission for
I don't think
The
it's as
duration.
out as sleep though.
For the purposes of rules as written, it's not a way to avoid getting ambushed. I will say that.
Oh. I thought that was one of the advantages of being an elf.
No. There are some advantages, but that's not one of them.
I mean, you only have to sleep for half the time, or you meditate for half the time as you would sleep. So I guess
That's
that's
true.
an advantage.
Yeah.
I mean, I would trade my 8 hours of sleep for 4 hours of meditation in real life if I could.
Do you want to send that to Iris, or do you want me to send it?
You can send it along. Yep.
Okay.
That way, it's more like your character sending it along. So we'll end it here. That's what I have prepared for you guys tonight. There might be.
That's applause. Well done.
There might
That
be.
was a lot of difficult voice acting for you.
A lot
That
of
was very
DM
well-
work. Yeah.
A lot of DM work. That was very well done.
It
Thank you.
was. And I'm
Thank you.
really impressed with the card
The
reading.
cards, yeah.
Yeah.
Holy shit. I
I
didn't
was
even know what to
pleased
say.
with-
I'm like,
I can't because I don't have nitro. It's too long.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll send that off to Iris for you. Yeah, I was really happy with the way the cards turned out. That was I was a bit worried about that because that's an important part of the story. That's also why I kind of went to you, Drez, and I'm like, "Are you sure you don't want to go in the tent?"
thank you.
Yeah.
Again, that's part of our contract, and your part is to make sure we don't do anything that's going to make us miss something fun.
And I hope that it was a good fun
I'm glad.
experience.
No, I think some DMs would say, "Sorry, you missed it. Your fault. Should have gone in."
Nah, this is
No.
this is a game.
It's
It's
a
not supposed
friend
to be-
group.
I
Yeah,
know.
exactly. There's some things I'll be hardcore about, but that's not going to be one of them.
I mean, sometimes you tell your friends to go in the tent, and sometimes you let your friends try and kill themselves with a fireball into a well. You
Mhm.
never know.
I'm so glad that I did not roll well on that roll.
I have mixed feelings about you rolling badly. We didn't have you die last night, so
That's right.
missed opportunity.
But the opportunity was there.
Could have happened. Didn't though. That's wonderful. Drez, I might touch you up later after this.
Mhm.
Other than that, does anybody have any questions about tonight? Questions that I can answer?
I do. Just I want to make sure we clarify about the new bird. So, does speak with animals give the animal a level of intelligence above what they had previously, or is it just the ability to communicate?
It is just the ability to communicate.
Okay.
I mean, ravens are actually pretty smart in
But-
real life.
Not smart enough to tell a freaking story, so that's why I think there's something up with this bird other than it's just a bird.
I took some artistic license with the storytelling.
Oh, very good.
So I just Googled how smart are ravens. By 4 months old, they have cognitive skills, and before reaching full maturity, they can rival great apes in intelligence. Another that indicates their problem solving skills are similar to children around the age of 7.
And knowing my child who's 6, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's way more than I thought.
They also have amazing memories and will hold a grudge against you if you fuck with them. And they will communicate that they have a grudge to other crows, and those other crows will now have a grudge against you. Apparently, there are incidents of people like really getting like attacked by crows violently.
That's amazing.
Wow. Maybe
Oh,
it's not.
yeah,
maybe it's just a
absolutely.
normal, smart, vengeful crow.
They can use tools.
If you're kind to them and give you presents, they'll start giving you presents back.
There was a really fun story on Reddit about somebody who made friends with the crows. They were like
but
harassing the neighbors, trying to protect the person, and yeah, I'll see if I can find it and send it because it was fascinating.
March 23rd. Does that work for everybody? For continuation? 2 weeks from now.
You know my answer.
That should be fine. I may need to miss a few episodes in May, depending on how some of the work and moving stuff go. But
Ooh, you know what? I've got a really bad May too.
Well, I don't mind putting.
No, sorry, not May, April. But we can deal with that once we get a little closer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll have a chat about it maybe after one of these sessions as we get closer to it. I'm not opposed. We've been steamrolling along here for the last little bit, so I'm not opposed to slowing down. You guys are approaching a very complicated part of the story. I've read ahead a little bit, and I'm not gonna lie, I had a moment where I'm like, am I really gonna have to fucking do this? So there's a part of this campaign that let me put it this way. You know how in Baldur's Gate 3 they bragged about how many permutations there are? Yeah, written into this campaign there are like dozens, if not hundreds of different permutations that I have to track coming up.
And you get to run 2 separate campaigns.
Yeah. I have to do that with two people. 2 groups. So it's going to be fun. I'm going to look forward to it, but I also wouldn't mind opportunities to prepare more adequately so that when it does happen, I'm ready for you guys. So if it does roll around where we end up in April, May when that happens, then I'm not opposed to pausing until we can pick things back up together for June or wherever.